All right, shalom, shalom. This is the brother Itazayah, Razamath, and today we're going over a class about predictive programming that the elites are doing. So this is going to show you the techniques that they're doing, as in trauma-based fear tactics, and also actors in high places, and how the Most High feels about that, and how we can protect ourselves from that. But first, let's understand order. Ezekiel, get me John 14 and 15, because we also have to understand order. So as we have done many other videos in the past, like one was the religion of YOLO. Y'all should check that one out. The religion of YOLO, or you only live once. That goes into the behavior of a lot of people constantly putting in their mind that they only have one life when they don't. The righteous live 3 times and the wicked live twice. And we go over that in that class. The video is still out, so watch that video. But right now we're going to go over the predictive programming process, and what these elites in high places are planning, how we shall defend ourselves, how we can see through this darkness that they're concealing. As they emerge a lot of things with AI and other things, they use a lot of trickery. That's why it says we have to beware the wiles of the devil. And let's see how to beware these wiles of the devil. So read John 14 and 15. Zeke?
John 14 and 15. If you love me, keep my commandments.
So we always have to remember, we have to keep the Most High's commandments. He wrote commandments down, and he put commandments in the Bible. The Bible, which is established on this earth, which has a connection to heaven. So since it has that divine connection, when you do the commandments, he draws closer to you. Now the commandments are powerful and they're filled with love. Even some of the commandments that you constantly look at, the old commandments in the old time when they had a death sentence, that was done in love, because he had to put a person to death so it wouldn't be a domino effect where someone else would do it. Things like that. So as we know that the Most High freed us of sin and death, because this is no longer our world. So we can't put no one to death because we're not in this world no more. We're just in this world for punishment. But our world is the world to come. So we're just like here, just watching as a lot of blind people and cursed people react to politics, react to the wars, react to a lot of things that's going on. So it says if we love him, we have to keep his commandments, because we have free will. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 8 and 6. Everything you do, you're getting judged for. This is where people get what is this called, the law of attraction, which is part of that is true. And they also get to something called karma. All these things that these other nations say, like karma or the law of attractions, they learned it from the scriptures, because King Solomon one time taught all the nations. So they learned it from Solomon and they just changed it around. That's why you have like a lot of Buddhist principles and things like that, or Hindu sages. They would say certain things as in their little proverbs, their little Chinese proverbs or Buddhist proverbs, and it sounds so much similar to like something Solomon said with a little twist. Because that's what they'll do. They'll get wisdom from us, get wisdom from the Bible, and twist it around to their advantage. It's similar to how the Nicolaitans, which are the Muslims, what they have done with that garbage book known as the Quran. How they would just get certain things from the scriptures and then twist it around and add falsehoods to it and a false prophet. Things like that. Ecclesiastes 8 and 6.
Ecclesiastes 8 verse 6. Because to every purpose there is time and judgment, and for the misery of man is great upon him.
So, because to every purpose there's a time and judgment. So there's a time and judgment to everything you do. So whether you're giving something to like the homeless or the poor, there's a time and judgment, meaning you'll get a small blessing in this life. If you're rude to somebody, there's a time and judgment, meaning it's going to come back to you. It's always a domino effect. Everything, there's a time and judgment. So that's why it says the misery of man is great upon him, because if you look at our people, since our people are cursed, they're under the curse of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, they're constantly in the ghettos and the slums. And if you look at the Muslims, which are the Nicolaitans of our people, they have a double curse on them, because it tells you if you don't love the Lord, you're also cursed till Christ come back. And also they curse because they believe in that false prophet. And it says if an angel come down and deceive somebody, that angel's a curse, meaning it's actually a demon. So if a person comes down with another gospel, he's a curse. So they believe in another totally gospel and things like that. So they're cursed. That's why in most of the communities that you have these Nicolaitan Muslims at, it's always violent and crime and criminal activities. That's why you always hear them. They're always using profanity and cursing and things like that. They're cursed. So they don't understand that everything they do, there's a time and a judgment. In their mind, they think after death that they're going to have like this little balance where they're going to weigh all their good works and all their negative works. And if their good works outweigh their negative works, they make it to their paradise. And it doesn't work that way with the Most High. Go to Luke 6:31. Because you already see that many of them are causing trouble worldwide. We've done videos in the past about them. One of the good videos that we have done is the doctrine of the Nicolaitans exposed. That one is good. Right there. The doctrine of the Nicolaitans exposed. Because according to the scriptures, there are three groups of people that will be causing us trouble all throughout our work. One is the false Jews. It says the ones that call themselves Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. They cause us problems, because if we're trying to convert somebody to the truth and tell them their history, but they see these false Jews, they get confused and say, whoa, those are actually the Most High's people, those Jewish people, and they start to leave the truth. The second one is the followers of Balaam. Balaam was from Mesopotamia or Babylonia, and he respected the Most High. So if you understand, in the Babylonian tradition, they actually had a form of Christmas and Easter, and he also celebrated on Sunday, and he had images and idols. And Balaam, he did that. He also followed the Most High and respected the Most High. So the main religion that does that have the Babylonian practice, and they respect the Most High, as Catholicism. And then you had a third group of people known as the Nicolaitans, and for a while, a lot of people have not been able to break them down. They said, oh, they're just being conquerors. They didn't know who these people was, but now we can see who they really are. If they have a doctrine of conquering, and they have a respect to Christ and to the Most High, but they have this doctrine of conquering, a spiritual doctrine of conquering, and we understand that that's the Muslims, Islam, and they have that doctrine of conquering called jihad under the Dawah, where they have to make sure that Islam must be in every single house, every single country.
We are the messengers of the messenger. We are the representative of this deen of Islam. We have to be the solution. The future is ours. Every ideal nightmare of a Muslim Europe will come true. They can be as mad as they want. I don't care. America will be a Muslim country. Russia will be a Muslim country. Islam will enter every house. We have to be a part of that change. We have to be a part of that da'wah. We have to be a part of those ghuraba who stand firm on our aqeedah and our practice and our deen, and never ever apologize. We're unapologetic. Never ever compromise. We're uncompromising.
That's considered conquering. The word Nicolaitan means to conquer. So those was the three types that was going to give us trouble in the last days, and they're still giving us trouble to this day. So Luke 6:31.
Luke 6:31. And as you would that mention do to you, do ye also to them likewise.
Yeah, do ye also to them likewise. That's the golden rule. That's the rule that you hear the Buddhists say that, the Hindus say it, the Shinto say that, The Nicolaitan Muslims, they even say that. Why? Because they got it from the scriptures. Many of them got it from the scriptures. Do unto others as you do unto you. See, that's known as the law of order. So if you constantly doing the commandments and you're staying away from wickedness, then you stay away from chaos. Because that's one thing the Most High says, you have to watch out for evil. Evil is chaos, which is the separation from the Most High. And when the Most High is separate from you, then disaster happens. Then the curses, like it tells you in the scriptures, the curses become wonderful. When it says wonderful, meaning they become extreme. That's why you have certain people that's really bugged out their mind when they straight up believe the truth. I met certain people who was actually teachers and things like that, and they just kept on, they just straight left the truth. And when you see them, they are really messed up to the point where it's like a point of no return. Even if they want to come back, their minds are like gone. So you have to make sure you know what you get into. You're very close to the Most High, closer than any church or denomination is. You're actually part of that you're part of that saint. Because understand what we have. We have a heritage, a spirituality, and a religion. I have to emphasize this, that we're not just a religion. Our religion is our actions. Like it tells you that in James 1:27, what pure religion is. That's to stay unspotted from the world and do charity. And our spirituality is the spirituality of Christ. And our heritage is that we are Hebrew Israelites. So we have 3 in 1, a heritage, a religion, and a spirituality. So, and all these 3 are one. Because you can't just be a Hebrew Israelite without a spirituality. You can't be a Hebrew Israelite without a religion. Now, we don't follow no denomination. We don't call ourselves Christian because Christ never called his people that, although we can bear the title of that. Because Peter said that if we suffer like a Christian suffer, so we can, if we wanted to, accept that title. But we shouldn't be calling each other that because the Most High called us Israelites. So, like it tells you, the golden rule, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Let's go to Matthew 7:13 to see about this curse of blindness, because a lot of people, they're blind. They can't see that we're like under a curse. They turn into politics. They say, hurry up and vote, knowing that's just a big act. It's acting. The more closest that you can get to voting would be, I'll say, in county elections. And even that, certain people would say that's a little rigged. But once you start the governor and senate and all that, yeah, most of that is just a big act. And people would say that, well, you see, the Christ and the disciples, they was dealing with politics. You don't hear no one in the scriptures saying, let's go vote for a governor. Let's go vote for a magistrate, which is a mayor. Let's vote for a senator. They had governors, mayors, and senators back then. But you don't have people voting for them. But they was getting into office like that. You don't hear about that. Why? Because this is not our world. We're in the world as a punishment, but not of the world. We have to make that small percentage of people that follow after Christ and do his will. So we can be that sheep that he wants to call. So Matthew 7:13.
Matthew 7 verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
Enter ye in at the straight gate.
So it says, wait 1 second. It says, enter ye at the straight gate. So the straight gate is a small gate. So when he says there's a path to every man's life, everybody have 2 paths, the path of good and the path of evil. All right. When you look at the path of evil, that's a big wide gate full of pleasure and lust. It's like, do what you will. And you have all these dark forces everywhere just following you with this path of evil. Just dark force here, dark force there. They're following you and they're pulling you into this darkness and this gloominess. Those are unclean spirits, and those are unclean spirits, also known as demons and devils. And what they're trying to do, they're trying to pull you closer and farther away from the Most High and closer to them and blind you with pleasure. That's why it says don't accept the gift. A gift is pleasure. It causes blindness. It blinds the heart. Your heart is your mind. That's what the wide gate is. That's what the majority of the people do. But it says enter to the straight gate. The straight gate, where there's law and order of the scriptures, where you have to keep the commandments. And even if you sin, Just come back to the Most High and He'll forgive you for those sins. Read Matthew 7:13 again.
Matthew 7 verse 13. Enter ye in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. And many there be which go in and many there be which go in thereof.
Yeah, many of them. Many go into that wide gate. It's like they're just fitted for destruction. They go straight to that wide gate, that wide and narrow gate. Why? Because they like the way it feels. They like it's a pleasure to them. It's like calling them. So if it's calling them over and over again, it's going to destroy them. And many of our people, they're not ready for that type of destruction. So that's why he says why many that go into the read verse 14.
Verse 14, because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it.
So it says only few will find it. So in other words, you got to find this. That's why it's like a lot of people ain't going to make it, because they think that this truth is just going to be handed to them. They actually going to just think the commandments aren't grievous, but at the same time, it can be a little stressful because there's so many of these dark spirits. See, your eye only pick up only a small portion of what you see. There's a whole invisible world that you just can't see. That's the invisible world of unclean spirits and demons and things like that. They stay in that world that you just can't see. See, so that's why it's a little hard for people to get into that. Read verse 14.
Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it.
Yes, so that's that straight gate that we have to follow, and that's following the law, statutes, and commandments of the scriptures. See, all of our action has like ripple effects that continue to go and do, that goes out throughout society, throughout the whole world. And the Most High, He already understands about this whole ripple effect. So this ripple effect can be good or evil. And many people, they remain blind to this truth, and they stay in the darkness. Let's go to John 3:19 to understand more what this ripple effect can do and why is this darkness is so attracted to this ripple effect. So in other words, like I was saying, all the things you do, there's a time and judgment. So let's say if you do something evil to somebody, that's going to come at you. And then after a while, it's going to keep happening over and over and over and over again. Just think about people who get into that whole want to be gangbangers. They want to be gangsters, and they get into that gang violence. Then they want to leave. And then when they're finally out, it comes back to them again because somebody who they bumped into the wrong way recognizes them, and they back at square one. They have to defend themselves. So the only way to get rid of that ripple effect in the world is they have to leave that place. They have to leave the state and things like that, because that whole ripple effect is still there. And Satan uses that with the unclean spirits with that ripple effect. John 3:19.
John 3:19. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light.
Yeah, men.
Because they're
yes, men love darkness rather than light, because now the darkness is embedded in their DNA. Just if you could imagine like a pen that's writing down in their DNA. Their DNA records all the things that's going on, all the things, and it's also that darkness of wickedness of evilness is also in the DNA. So this, and it records that, and it adds on to it. So when you keep on sinning and sinning and sinning, that's going to be in your DNA, and every sin has a judgment. So once you constantly sin, and that sin has a judgment, that means unclean spirits are attaching themselves to your DNA. So when these unclean spirits attach yourself to your DNA is be rewritten to Satan's purpose. Now Satan is like controlling you, and these things can be on you and your children, and that's where you get that curse, that other curse. So a lot of people, not amongst our people, just amongst our people around the world, is just cursed with polluted DNA. Keep going. 3:19 again.
And this is the condemnation, that light has come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil.
Because their deeds were evil. So let's look at Israel. Our people. Our people was known to be like known as the stars of heaven at one time. That was a nickname that in Joshua said, stars of heaven. It says we will be even shining like stars. We were also considered nicknames like angels. Things like that. Let's go to Jude 1:6. For example. Jude, because I'm going to talk about these, how we like angels to the Most High when we do the right thing. When we do the right things, we're like these angels. But we just didn't want to stay in our place. We want to imitate the darkness. We want to imitate the wickedness. But we were still angels to the Most High. So read Jude 1:6.
Jude, verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate.
So it says their first estate. What was their estate? It was their habitation. And their habitation was where the Most High is with. So, and remember, these angels that he's talking about, it's like a comparison to Israel. Keep going.
And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation.
So these left their habitation. Hold this. Go to Jeremiah 50:7. So we have to remember habitation. Angels representing his people Israel, the ones that follow his commandments. These were his angels, because angel means messenger, and his messengers were Israel. They were the ones that was going around teaching each other, even teaching nations, teaching our people, and they were his messengers. Yes, these angels. But something happened to them. They left their state and they left their habitation. Let's see what their habitation was. Jeremiah 50:7.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 7. All that found them have devoured them. And their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord.
So in other words, all of the nations that attacked us, they say, oh, we didn't do nothing wrong, because they already offended against the Most High. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with what we're doing. That's what these nations are doing when they attack our people. Keep going.
The habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their fathers.
It says the habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their fathers. So the habitation of justice is the Lord. So it's talking about these wicked brothers and sisters who was called angels. They was really called angels of the Most High. They left their habitation. So once they left their habitation, it seems like they turned into like this dark angel, or they turned into a demon, like this demon on earth. But let's see, something also happened to them. Go back to Jude 1:6 and continue reading to see what happened when they left their habitation. Jude 1:6.
Jude verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation.
They left their own habitation, which is the Most High. Keep going.
He hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
So these are invisible chains that's on their soul. And it says these chains are like all around them, and it's in darkness, meaning they can't see. They're like really messed up with anxiety, with all type of things. And it says until the great day. So they're blind. That's why our people are so messed up. That's why people are saying, why are these brothers and sisters so effed up? Because they are in chains of darkness. And they're blinded by the unclean spirits because they are victims of something called predictive programming. Let's understand more about what's going on with predictive programming. All right, I'm going to read this. This tells you what predictive programming is. Predictive programming is a theory that suggests that media, including movies, TV shows, books, and other forms of entertainment, subtly predict or foreshadow future events. So, in other words, it's supposed to talk about a programming that's supposed to happen in the future. And many of these things is true. You can see many of these things is true. You even see certain things like certain TV shows called The Simpsons. Yeah, The Simpsons have predicted certain things, a lot of future events. And there's videos about that. Yeah, they are.
Let's start with tech, specifically FaceTime, or video conferencing, which was predicted back in '95. Lisa visits a fortune teller at a fair and we're transported 15 years into the future. She's talking to Marge using her phone's video chat feature called a picture phone, which was ahead of its time but finally became a reality in 2010. And now we all use it, even our grandparents.
Oh, don't worry, honey. I guarantee your father will behave.
Mom, it's a picture phone.
Oh, this? Oh, no, I've just got a touch of the rheumatiz.
Oh. Mom, picture phone.
From the very same episode, the smartwatch. Lisa's fiancé makes a phone call using his extremely fashionable watch. Kind of reminds me of Dick Tracy and how bad I wanted one of those things. But it wasn't until 19 years later that modern voice recognition enabled smartwatches would become widely available to the masses thanks to Google, Samsung, and Apple. Moving on, the GoPro, or a camera in comparable size that was featured on a 1994 episode. Homer took part in a hidden camera investigation into the expired meat on sale at the Quickie Mart. Bite Back host Kent Brockman and the Channel 6 investigative news team give Homer a giant novelty hat to wear that contains a tiny camera in it. And we know only a GoPro would fit in there. 20 years later, we were introduced to the GoPro, which is the go-to hands-free way to record your travels while swimming, running, biking, or spying on people. That's some of the good tech, but how about some shitty tech, as in faulty voting machines? Inspired by the 2008 presidential election, this episode finds Homer trying to place a vote for Barack Obama, and it doesn't go so well.
Hey, I only meant one of those votes for McCain. This machine is rigged. Must tell President McCain. This doesn't happen in America. Maybe Ohio, but not in America.
Now in 2012, this actually happened, and there's video on YouTube to prove it. Racking over 10 million views, this Pennsylvania machine wasn't calibrated correctly and changes a vote for Obama to Mitt Romney. Speaking of presidential elections, The Simpsons predicted Trump, as in President Trump. Yep, it's another flash forward to the future as Bart is an adult and Lisa is the President of the United States. Unfortunately, she is tasked with the gargantuan task of cleaning up after the disastrous job left by Donald Trump.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
We're broke.
The country is broke? How can that be?
The National Security Agency made headlines in 2013, but the NSA played a pivotal role in the Simpsons movie back in '07. Quick refresher, Homer accidentally pollutes Springfield's water supply, the family goes on the run, and the EPA declares the family as fugitives. The NSA finally tracks down Marge and the kids by listening in on their conversations. And 6 years later, Edward Snowden revealed widespread mass surveillance of its citizens by the American government through phone and internet records.
Now, back to predictive programming. So it's supposed to tell you certain things that's supposed to happen in the future by the media. But it gets deeper than that. It mainly works on your trauma. So let's say predictive programming can also work in politics. Well, they would say something like, a good example, 9/11. 9/11, they had to start the whole Patriot Act and start to tell people that their securities were about to be forfeited. Meaning that now the powers that be, or the elites, was going to take over their security. They were going to spy on them and do things like that. But before that, they had to put like a trauma there to scare them, and so it would be normal. It'd be normal for them to look down and see them, or having cameras around, because just think about it. If 9/11 didn't happen and there was cameras around, people also hacking your phones and things like that, you'd be like, what's going on? So they had to put something there to get people scared. So they'll say, oh, once 9/11 happened, and they blamed it on a terrorist group, and when they said, oh, this is the problem, And the solution to the problem is this Patriot Act. We have to put it there. People are scared. They're not thinking about, oh, it's going to be an invasion of our securities. They're not thinking about that. They just want to do that. So once that's known as predictive programming, it starts with trauma. So it's also called like trauma-based mind control, if you want to use that. It's trauma-based mind control. Now, if you understand how your brain works, you have like 3 brains in one. But there's one part of your brain known as your neocortex. Your neocortex is also known as your creative thinking area. That's where you're able to think, constantly think what's going on and constantly think. Now, there's a part of your brain known as your reptilian brain. Everybody has it, where it's like that works off of instincts. Like reptiles, they work off of instincts. Now, if you're in trauma, your neocortex goes on pause and your reptilian brain takes over. So you automatically have to work on instincts. So when that thing happened at 9/11, a lot of people's thoughts about what's going on with the whole Patriot, they're not thinking about that. They're just looking at the World Trade Center and they say, okay, they're getting nervous, they're in trauma. And they realize people can be controlled by trauma-based mind control.
It was so hard to come running out of a hell that nobody believed existed. My name is Kathy O'Brien, and I'm a survivor of MK Ultra mind control. The MK Ultra program was to ultimately control the minds of the population for implementing what Adolf Hitler first termed the New World Order. When girls reached age 30, they were murdered or they were sacrificed. I was going to be killed as well, I was to go out in a blaze of glory and be burned alive. I'm so fortunate that an intelligence insider who saw the kind of corruption that was going on in the highest levels of government decided to take action and rescued me and saved my life so that we could begin to expose what was being done.
The fleas are placed inside the jar and the lid is then sealed. They are left undisturbed for 3 days. Then, when the jar is opened, the fleas will not jump out. In fact, the fleas will never jump higher than the level set by the lid. Their behavior is now set for the rest of their lives. And when these fleas reproduce, their offspring will automatically follow their example. This is how generational trauma truly works.
That's a good example. Look at the pandemic. Look at what happened. I'm not going to say the certain words on here, the V word or anything like that, because as you know, certain videos would get taken down if you say the V word. But as you know, that whole event with the whole pandemic was for another purpose, but a lot of people was in trauma. So if they was in trauma and they wanted to know the solution, of course it'd be easier. It's easier to hypnotize somebody based on their fears, because once they're in their reptilian brain, they're in instincts, they're in panic mode. So they're trying to solve a solution for it. So, and that's the part of predictive programming, is trying to solve a solution based off of trauma. But first, they have to program people about something that's going to happen in the future. So let's go to Ecclesiastes 1 and 9 to show you that predictive programming was all the way in the past. This isn't new. This was also in the past. So read Ecclesiastes 1 and 9.
Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
Yeah, there's nothing really new under the sun. Everything that we have here, we actually happened before. It just happened in a different way. You had vehicles, you had this. Even before the flood, people lived to hundreds of years old. So you can imagine the technology back then. So everything already happened already. So of course they had predictive programming even back then. They was able to trick the people to doing things, that tricking the society of the people to doing things by trauma and by fear. Let's go to Exodus 1 and 9. This is a good example. We read it on the Passover, but it's deep. This is a good example of predictive programming that's done by the people around Pharaoh. So read Exodus 1, chapter 1, verse 9.
Exodus 1 and 9. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
So right now, number one, just think about this. This is where the predictive programming enters. So, but read verse 8 just to see what's going on.
8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
So if you want to understand what's really going on, after Joseph died, allegedly you had some people in the inner circle of Pharaoh most likely did not like Joseph. All right? Because they did not want a person who was not an Egyptian to build up Egypt, because Egypt, when it was in its great state, it was magnificent. It was beautiful, but it was helped being built up by Joseph. And to have somebody outside of Kemet, he was not descendant of Kemet, of Kim, which is Ham. He was actually descendant of Jacob. And to have a person like that being over Egypt, they couldn't have that. So allegedly, the Egyptians are good at changing history. So they had to get rid of him out of the records. So once the new Pharaoh rose up, he was brought up and rose up. They made sure, allegedly, not to talk about Joseph. So he didn't know too much about him. The records about him is hard to find, all that, because Egypt is known for certain history that they don't like, they will take away. There's certain things they don't even record. Like everyday life in ancient Egypt, they don't record it that much. You would only know about it from like the Greeks. They would tell that they did this and they did that, because there's certain things the Egyptians didn't want to talk about. So this king of Egypt didn't know about Joseph. He wasn't trained or skilled. Or the people who trained him, they didn't talk about that. They only talked about Egypt. So keep going, verse 9.
And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more mightier than we.
Bam. There it goes. The predictive programming of fear. It starts with that. It says, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. That's the exaggeration, and that's the lie. Hold this. We're going to come back to this. And let's go to Deuteronomy 7:7. Remember what he says. It says, the people of the children of Israel are more mightier than we, which is a lie. The Egyptians outnumbered the children of Israel at that time like to 1 to 50. There was a multitude of them, and they were also warriors. Our people, we had a lot of people back then, but not like Egypt did. They had armies, they had a whole lot of people. But remember, this is where the programming is of this new Pharaoh. He's trying to bring in this predictive program and saying, yo, you have all these people. We're already living in the land of Goshen, minding our own business. But now he had to instill in the state of fear. Like in 9/11, they started the state of fear. It says, oh, you better hurry up and get Saddam. He have these weapons of mass destruction. He might do something to America. So people get scared about Saddam and things like that. Before Saddam, it was Osama bin Laden. Now with Saddam, he had all this and that. That's installing fear. So what the Pharaoh is doing, installing fear of the people. There's so many, and they're mightier than we. But let's see what it says here in Deuteronomy. Read it.
Deuteronomy 7:7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people.
Bam, he says right here, you were the fewest of all people, meaning every single nation we was the fewest of. So the Pharaoh lied. He exaggerated. He's doing that predictive program. And so let's go back to Exodus 1 and 9 to understand how this predictive programming can actually happen even back then. Exodus 1 and 9.
Exodus 1 and 9. Mm-hmm. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Okay, that's an exaggeration because we're the least of the people, but he's scaring the people. Keep going.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
So in other words, he's putting more fear. He says, not only is there more than us, they're going to fight against us and things like that. So now the people getting scared. So that's installing fear. That's part of predictive programming. But even on our people, we even did certain things like that too. Let's go to Numbers 13:32. Yeah, we had our own people doing some negative predictive programming that actually scared our people. See, the thing is, Satan likes to deal with trauma. That fear-based trauma. And the wicked elites, the ones that's ruling the world, they do this fear-based trauma, and they're good at it. They're really, really good at it too. That fear-based trauma to control people, because they know once you remove yourself from your neocortex, the brain of creativity and thinking, and you go straight into your instincts, it's easier for you to believe in lies. So, read Numbers 13 and 32.
Numbers 13 and 32. And they brought up an evil report of the land, which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying.
So right here, you had spies that went to the land of Canaan. They went to the land of Canaan to spy out the land to see if it's a good land for us. But they brought up an evil report. So these were Israelite spies that were sent out to see about this land of Canaan that we was about to take over. Our people was going to take over, and to see if it was all right and things like that. And what's about to happen? They're about to do predictive programming to the people on fear. Keep reading.
Saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof.
It says a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, meaning you have just a bunch of big bullies all around. Things like that. It's a land that eateth up inhabitants. You have these big, monstrous bullies. It's a scary land. Monsters all around. Keep going.
And all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature.
So he says there's monsters around that's eating the inhabitants and things like that. And you also have these big, mean, ugly, these big uglies walking around here that they're so big in stature. Keep going.
And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight.
So it says we were just like grasshoppers. You had these big uglies was over there, and we were scared. We was grasshoppers in their sight. Now, they're exaggerating. No, there's no giant that big where a person is the size of a grasshopper. But as you can see, they're using predictive programming so the people won't fight. And as you continue on, it worked. Our people didn't want to go up to fight because they were scared, and the Most High was angry with them. That said, they even had to kill them. Because that fear right there. Because our people, that fear brings bondage. That's why we have to do this. Let's go to John 8:36. It's because it talks about that fear brings bondage. So we have to learn how to break free from that fear of trauma. Understand that these elites that's programming, that's owning all these television shows, these networks and things like that, and they're doing this predictive programming based off of fear-mongering mind control. We have to learn how to break free from that. All right, keep going.
John chapter 8, verse 36. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed.
So you have to always remember that Christ, Yahushua, HaMashiach, who people call Yehoshua, who people call Yeshua the Almighty, he knows who you're talking about. He will make us free. He will break us away from this trauma-based mind control. Because we have to remember, the people in politics, they're actors. Yeah, they're actors. They're just a bunch of actors in politics. Go to Matthew 7:6, Matthew 7:5. I'm going to show you. They're actors, and there's a reason why many of these people in politics will say one thing and do something else. There's a connection to them saying they'll do this and do that, but then they'll do something else, and you're so shocked, but you can't do nothing about it because they're already in power, and they make it, and not only that, they blame it on you. They say, hey, you voted us in, so it's blamed on you. So now you're feeling bad that you brought them in. All right, so Matthew 7:5.
Matthew 7, verse 5. Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eyes.
So I'm going to talk about the word hypocrite right here. He used that word. Let's see, what does the word hypocrite mean? The word hypocrite comes from the Greek word hypokritos, krites, and it means an actor. Bro, an actor, an assumed character, stage player. Let me say that again. An actor or assumed character, stage player. This, like you see the people in politics, they're actors. Yes, they're actors. There's a reason why you hear Trump constantly say central casting. Central casting. He said it a lot. This is central casting. Central casting.
I was the perfect person. I was like central casting.
Hey, you know what? And he's central casting. Look at that guy, central casting.
And these are central casting. If I'm doing a movie, I pick you, General.
Central casting.
Very impressive. Oh, you're central casting. Look at this guy.
Oh, this man's central casting. I watch him all the time. Central casting.
He's a real talent. a real guy, and he is central casting. Do we agree? Central casting. They're central casting, the red suspenders, handsome, beautiful, smart. You couldn't get better central casting.
He is great in every way, and he's central casting. I mean, this is a man that was born for the position.
No, he was central casting like the perfect Supreme Court judge. These guys are central casting. There's nobody in Hollywood that looks like these people. And they're central casting. I've never seen a group of people like this. Everyone's in perfect shape. My friend, central casting. I always call him central casting. Boy, is that central casting. Let's say it. Does he look like central casting?
So, if Trump is constantly saying this whole central casting, because that's what he says, but what is central casting? Because there's videos of Trump saying that a lot, central casting. He would say, this is central casting. So, but let's see what central casting is.
Cruz, but maybe better. The intellect is extraordinary, and the man is extraordinary. He's central casting. I assume you like these people. I assume it's central casting, right, boss? Is this central casting? This is what we want. This is a great, brilliant man. Looks like, I don't know, very tough. Central casting. When you talk about central casting. This guy's out of central casting, I'm telling you. There's nobody in Hollywood that can look like this guy. Yeah, these guys are central casting, like from a movie. Central casting, you can't cast what do you have? You don't have anybody in Hollywood that looks like these guys. And a great looking central casting, and we have great generals, a great central casting general. Look at that.
Ne kadar güzel insanlar
Central
ve onlarla ilişki kurmak ne kadar.
He's like central casting for ownership of a hotel. Everyone is central casting. Central casting. Glasses, pad, boom. I watch Judge Kavanaugh, who's central casting. This guy's like central casting. You couldn't pick a better guy in Hollywood. There's no actor that could do it better. You are so central casting. Great marks, great schools, the best everything, the best of everything. Your family, your wife, your children, you don't have a problem in the world. You are the greatest. You talk central casting, these guys, you couldn't, I mean, it's incredible. They had a master sergeant there. I could take him right now, bring him to Hollywood, make a military movie, and he's the star of the movie. That happened once before, you know. That did happen.
So it goes into acting. So all these things are like the things that Christ he isn't dealing with. He's not dealing with acting. Even like the passing of Charlie Kirk. People keep on saying that that thing happened and they bigged it up. They bigged it up like it was an act of a show. Because it says like his neck, the bullet, it was something where the bullet was supposed to go through his neck, but it didn't go through. So there was something off with that.
Also, Kelly, we're hearing Charlie Kirk's organization is revealing new details surrounding his death. What are they saying about this?
Yeah, I wanted to get to that. There was a new post out from the executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show, TPUSA spokesperson Andrew Colvett, and he wanted to post this. He said he spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital, and they were talking about the exit wound. So Colvett was saying that there was no exit wound. We are still waiting to confirm this with the hospital, but he said he spoke with a surgeon who worked on Charlie. He said the bullet absolutely should have gone through, but it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. He said, quote, "It was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed." They did find the bullet just beneath the skin, he says, and even in death, he finishes that Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. So that was just posted within the last hour. We wanted to make sure we shared that with you as well, Natasha.
Yeah, I appreciate those details.
So when we're watching these movies, people are taking them around from a sniper shot, and it's almost like they get blown back into the wall behind them. That's all Hollywood.
All Hollywood. Like, my most vivid, well, I have a few, but I think like my most vivid was like my furthest shot, which is just, a little over half a mile, just about half a mile, a couple yards over half a mile. And like when I shot him, it just looked like, I don't know, like a truck or a big boulder fell on top of him. He didn't get blown back. He just sank down in his own weight. His head went between his legs and he popped back like a lawn chair. But yeah, I never saw anybody get like blown back. That's it. Some people say he had like a bulletproof vest on or something. I don't think he did, because you can see his paws, you can see his nipples through his shirt at one point as he's speaking. And unless that bulletproof vest had like nipples on it, I don't think he had nipples. And if it was body armor, it would have to be like hard plates. Soft plates, a bullet's not going to ricochet, hit that, and then go up to his neck. That's not happening. And even the way, if it was hard plates, like that's a 1 in a trillion shot to have it ricochet up into his neck.
Ryan, and we're going to do a little bit of 30-06 testing today, given the controversy going on in recent events. And as you can see, we've got our 30-06s set up here. And I wanted this video to be professional, so I brought out my buddy Brian, who's a precision rifle competition shooter, just to make sure this is all legit. Brian, what do you think the likelihood of the things we have here today stopping a 30-06 round?
Nothing on this tailgate is going to stop a 30-06 round, including the tailgate.
All right, so let's see the damage. It's literally in pieces. So here you go, where Brian hit that directly in the center. Literally exploded that cow femur in half, blew straight through. Cow femur, 30-06 round. Now think about a human neck. Okay, but we're gonna up the ante even more. Now, we're not only gonna take a cow femur, but for anybody that says, wow, there's no meat, we're gonna slap on a fat 4 inches of beef in front of the cow femur and see what happens.
And then give him thick skin like Nate.
All right, last test on the meat. Again, cow femur, bunch of beef, thick tape, and then we're gonna move up to the steel. Here we go. All right, so let's take a look at the crime scene. As you see, the entire thing exploded on us. Our camera got knocked down, flew through this, as you can see. All right, here we go. Here's our cow femur. The damage to that. Literally snapped in half, and then our neck that we built, that was nice, solid, thick, 4 or 5 inches of meat, absolutely obliterated. So, yeah. Next we're gonna test the steel theory. So we're gonna actually shoot steel and see what happens. All right, guys, now we're gonna test literal steel. 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch steel. Let's see what it can do. You hit it? All right, so let's check out what 30-06 did to literal steel here. We have and thank God we got an actual competition shooter here to hit this 2-inch by 2-inch plate from 100 yards, which I probably wouldn't have been able to. Clean through 1/4 inch steel, clean through 3/8 inch steel, and 1/2 inch steel. Almost, or actually it potentially did actually blow out the side of that.
But it was like an act, because there was a lot of things that's happening in the office that's going on in the office right now that people don't want to talk about, like the farmers. The farmers in America are suffering because of the tariffs. It's hard for them to sell things overseas, so the people overseas are mainly selling things to Argentina, mainly like China, selling things to Argentina, and the farmers that was making a lot of money, they're suffering because of the tariffs. But many of the farmers voted for, Trump. But look what the terrorists are doing. It's hurting them.
Yeah, these farmers aren't worried about any of that. They're just wondering why they can't afford to run their farm anymore.
Farmers are desperate for workers. They're literally watching their livelihoods collapse because they can't find enough workers to milk cows or pick crops or keep farms alive. Deportations and red tape are slashing the supply of farm workers.
Farmers in crisis align way out the door of the Woods Chapel Baptist Church in Brooklyn as hundreds of farmers from not only Northeast Arkansas, but from across the state came to voice their concerns about the current state of farming. Among those farmers in attendance was a farmer in Woodruff County, Chris King. He told me this was his 39th harvest, and he has never seen it as bad as this.
And I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
For King, the main problem starts with the fact that they can't sell for profit.
I just would like to see somebody help us get our markets back. We need our exports, and we just need to be paid for what we do.
But for Brown, there is something that rounds out all the issues that they are facing, the tariffs.
I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
Almost everything that could go wrong for Arkansas farmers did go wrong this year. And it's so bad that many are facing bankruptcy or even the closure of farms that have been passed down for generations. A dismal global market and plunging commodity prices mean there's little to no hope of breaking even for many farmers, even as sky-high input costs rise because of inflation and now tariffs.
5 of my customers have committed suicide. That's how serious that this is.
Today, Arkansas farmers gathered to share their struggles with staffers from the state's congressional delegation, pleading for Arkansas lawmakers on Capitol Hill and the governor to convince President Trump to provide emergency funding to help them make it to next year.
We have to have ad hoc payments right now to make it through this year. If there's no emergency funding this year, there will be 1 out of 3 farmers will file bankruptcy.
Until the federal government steps in to save them, farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Farmers, in my opinion, dear Lord, and it's only my opinion, they're closer today than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. Dear Lord, we're hurting, dear Lord. We can't help what's happened to us.
So these are actors, and they're good at controlling the mass. So when you look how acting is done, that's where they get the part of being a hypocrite. It's being an actor. Christ don't want us to be doing that. He wants us to watch out for that whole mind control, because mind control and acting goes 1 and 1. Go to 1 Kings 21, and I'll show you how mind control and acting and trauma based action was in the past, and it was for a greedy gain, and a person got killed by doing that. First Kings 21st chapter. 1 Kings 21 and 1. Start at 1.
1 Kings 21 verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house. And I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or, if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money.
So right here, Ahab, he was the king of Samaria. He wanted this guy's vineyard named Naboth. So he was trying to say, yo, I need this vineyard that's close to my house, and so I'll give you money. I'll pay for it. But let's see what happens.
And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbiddeth me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee.
So in other words, the Lord forbade him for doing that. So he said that's part of his inheritance that his father gave unto him. So keep going.
And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread.
So now Ahab is sad that he could not have this guy's vineyard, because the guy wanted to follow his inheritance that the Most High gave him, and he just did not want to give it away. Keep going.
But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread?
He says, why is thy spirit so sad? You have not ate no bread. He says, yo, your bread is still here. Why don't you eat nothing? Keep going.
And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard.
All right, so he's saying he's whining because he wants something that someone else has, another person's property, but he ain't getting it. So his wife is about to tell him a little sneaky little act right here. His wife Jezebel, and remember that name Jezebel because Jezebel is known as a controlling woman, an actor who plays on people's minds and emotions to the point where Christ even named some woman in the church that Jezebel, because that woman in the church had a complete spirit and he was angry at her. But let's continue reading, see what she does.
And Jezebel, his wife, said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, going with Naboth.
All right, so let's see so she wrote something in her name. So she about to set up some actors and about to do some acting and things like that, and some central casting. And let's see what's going to play about. Keep going.
And she wrote in the letters, saying, Proclaim the fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. And set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him, to bear witness against him, saying, Thou didst blaspheme God and the king, and then carry him out and stone him, that he may die.
So in other words, they're about to put on a show. They was going to say, proclaim a fast. All fast supposed to be spiritual, and then have men set up and say, hey, we seen you blaspheme the Most High and the king, things like that. We seen them. They was going to make a big uproar about a big scene. Now everybody's thinking spiritual thoughts and they're fasting. So automatically, when they say that, people are going to get angry at them. They're not going to say, oh, did he really do it? No. They're going to work on their emotions. Like automatically, people are going to get angry. It's just going to be just 2 men. And they just going to just set them up. And everybody's just going to bring them out and kill them. Based off of their emotions, that anger. Because they blaspheme the king and the Most High. Keep going.
And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles, who were the inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them. And as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them, they proclaimed the fast and set them up on high among the people. And there came in 2 men, children of Belial, and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme God and the king. And they carried him forth out of the city, and stoned him with stones that he died.
So in other words, they did a whole show, a whole act. So they programmed all these people that was in the city, who was in that spiritual fast, and all they said, yo, this man right here blasphemed Most High and the king and things like that. So everybody just in an uproar came and killed them. So that shows you how they were able to do that predictive programming based on their emotions. Luke 21:19.
Luke 21, verse 19. In your patience, possess ye your souls.
So it says, in your patience, possess ye your souls. The reason why it says in your patience, because while you're in this truth, you got to have some patience. Because you're going to be going through a lot of hardships. You're going to go through a lot of central casting. You're going to go through a lot of trauma. And you have to possess your soul. Meaning make sure your soul is correct. Make sure your soul is right.